Thank you for providing me with the opportunity to speak today. My name is Angelina Richter, and I am a junior at the Thomas Jefferson High School for Science and Technology. At TJ, I am on my school's honor council, and I am specially trained in the practice of restorative justice, a transformative approach to discipline and conflict resolution, which I am here today to advocate for. This approach seeks to repair the harm caused by wrongdoing, promote healing, and foster understanding among all parties involved. By embracing restorative justice, FCPS can cultivate a more inclusive, empathetic, and supportive learning environment for all students. There are many reasons why restorative justice should be implemented in FCPS. The traditional punitive route often isolates the offender and fails to address the root problem. Restorative justice, on the other hand, emphasizes collective problem solving to create long-lasting and positive change. It promotes the idea that integrity violations harm people and relationships rather than just violating the rules. The process encourages honesty and truth-telling instead of defensiveness. It encourages taking accountability over blaming. Finally, it is oriented towards the future instead of the past, with one of the questions being, what can be done to make things right? Studies show that restorative justice significantly reduces suspensions, expulsions, and recidivism rates. By fostering empathy and understanding, restorative justice contributes to a more positive school environment where both students and teachers feel safe, respected, and valued with a mutual trust. In FCPS, TJ stands out as one of the few schools in the county that maintains an active honor council. Furthermore, it is one of a few across the nation where a high school council is led by students. Over the past 2 summers, we have participated in a Restorative Schools project which worked to train dozens of teachers from various schools across the county. Adopting restorative justice in FCPS is an investment in the community's well-being and future success, and I hope that restorative justice can make a long-lasting difference in this community. Thank you for your time.
Katie Acor.
I'm speaking tonight on behalf of several parents who have preschool-age children with Down syndrome and feel that our children have been siloed into segregated classrooms and denied the related services that are critical components to their early education. My son is 3 years old, uses 70 signs and other gestures to communicate. When we attended his first IEP, it was paused because we requested speech therapy. At the next meeting, the speech therapist asked me how many words does he say and said she couldn't work with him until he said more words. When asked, she could not quantify what that looked like. So I was shocked to hear Dr. Boyd state at the April 13th school board meeting that only about a quarter of children who are screened for speech services receive evaluations, which is based on the IEP team. I have 3 neurotypical nieces and nephews in Fairfax County, aged 4 to 8, who receive speech services. My husband and I are part of my son's IEP team, and we sat through multiple meetings fighting to get him speech. I can only say that this feels like discrimination when it's the same story for multiple families with preschool-age children with Down syndrome. After 4 IEP meetings, phone calls with the coordinator for early childhood identification and services, and our procedural support liaison, I believe there is a systemically flawed approach in Fairfax County's early education services. We were repeatedly told the preschool is a language-rich learning environment and that these teachers have postgraduate degrees and they're highly trained. I'm not here to discount teachers at all, but I am here to say that teachers can't do it all. My son has a pediatrician and a cardiologist because together they take care of his body, just like teachers, IAs, and speech therapists should work together for his communication goals. Finally, the fact that Fairfax County is not providing inclusive class-based preschool options portends low expectations for my son's future. 6 years ago, the Office of Special Education Programs announced that, quote, all young children with disabilities should have access to inclusive, high-quality early childhood programs where they are provided.
Stacy Langton.
For tonight's porn book story hour, I brought a selection from my son's school, Fairfax High School. Let's see what it's teaching our kids. The book, called Queer, A Graphic History by author Meg John Barker, is indeed graphic. It has illustrations of sex acts, some of which are deviant, but this book teaches that there is no good or bad kinds of sex, only a diverse range of practices and attractions. Page 158 says, "It ain't what you do, it's how you do it." This panel is of mom and dad having sex. Except in this case, the dad is on all fours on the bed, while mom is wearing a strap-on dildo and is screwing dad anally from behind. What the hell? So kids are supposed to think that this is normal and what parents are doing in private? It says heterosexuality is unfair and oppressive, and if it was natural, it wouldn't have to work so hard to defend itself. Look, if it weren't for heterosexuality, none of us would be here. You guys won't remove this stuff, and the assistant superintendent said these books are bedtime stories for her children. I am calling on Governor Youngkin and AG Miyares to do something. This was your platform for the last 5 weeks of your campaign, and we, the parents, put you in office largely to go and fix this. It's been 18 months. It's time. This filth is patently offensive. We have laws against this. It is not legal to have sex acts depicted for minors, not even in a library. Maybe the AG can find some time when he's not wasting $200,000 of taxpayer money chasing imagined racism at TJ and trashing reputations to investigate how these books got into our libraries. There's a worthwhile investigation. Until then, the kids are looking at this.
Robert Rigby.
Evening all. My topic is censorship. I'm representing no organization tonight. I say that the battle may be over. I say this in part because an innocent Basel Latin textbook was rejected by FCPS, and no one can figure out why. Those who would diminish our FCPS curriculum beyond any value have won. Those who would ban books can now write the histories as winners. Those who would force already marginalized communities further into the shadows can declare victory. How is this? Because we censor ourselves. Here in Fairfax, we stop before we write, speak, buy a book. We pause before we teach a lesson and wonder, what will the curriculum destroyers and book banners say? And we're stuck. Take a look at the proposed strategic plan and ask yourself, what is in this that shows clearly that it was written in Fairfax County and not in Florida? Thank you very much for all that you've done over the years. I'm afraid we have not succeeded unless we end and reverse the systemic censorship that we ourselves do. Thank you for listening. I will say I did have a more upbeat conversation with someone this evening, so there's a little hope in my heart. So there, thank you for listening.
Sherry Cuffle.
Good evening, Dr. Reed and school board. Yesterday, I spent several hours reviewing books in the Chantilly High School Library, which is accessible and available to 14 to 18-year-olds. I would like to read an excerpt from one of these books called Court of Thorns and Roses. I raised my nightgown over my head and tossed it to the floor. Utterly naked before him, I watched his gaze travel to my bare breast, peaked against the chill night, and to my abdomen, to between my thighs. A ravenous, unyielding sort of hunger passed over his face. I bent a leg and slid it to the side, a silent invitation. He let out a low growl and slowly, with predatory intent, raised his gaze to the full force and to mine. The full force of that wild, unrelenting power focused solely on me. I tore at my clothes, and they were on the floor. and then his skin was marked down his back with my fingernails. His claws were out, but devastatingly gentle on my hips and slid between my thighs and feasted on me, stopping only after I shuddered and fractured. I was moaning his name when he sheathed himself inside me in a powerful, slow thrust that had me splintering around him. We moved together, unending, wild and burning. And then when I went over the edge, he went and roared and went with me. Are you guys uncomfortable? I'm very uncomfortable right now reading this. I read so many things like this yesterday, and this is available to 14-year-olds. Why is there a sexy, hot scene between adults in our high schools? What educational value is there except to expose our kids to sexually explicit material? This book, which is a part of a series, should be removed from our schools. Thank you.
Brian Ruauer, or Ruier.
Hello, and thank you for the opportunity to address you this evening. I'm here on behalf of my family to discuss the Early Childhood Special Education Program. While our home elementary school is Hunter's Woods in Reston, my son is enrolled 4 days a week in the program at Oak Hill. I would be remiss during Teacher Appreciation Week not to recognize our son's teachers, Miss Samita, Miss Sahira, and Miss Ellen, who have worked with our son and have helped him meet many of his milestones and helped him blossom. Our son was diagnosed at birth with Down syndrome, which, aside from giving us a wonderful little boy, has also introduced us into a world of doctors, therapists, and IEPs. Our son was approaching his second year in the Fairfax County Early Intervention Program when we learned that he was eligible for the Early Childhood Special Education Program, and we jumped at the opportunity because we felt the structure and the therapeutic services would be better for his development. We were right. His communication, fine and gross motor skills have advanced significantly, and we owe a lot of that to this program. You're hearing tonight about an inclusive approach to pre-kindergarten for children with special needs, and I do support this concept, but not at the expense of this program. My family supports inclusive education. In fact, we send our son to an inclusive classroom setting in the afternoons after his school program, so that he can be around other kids and benefit from peer modeling. However, we believe that this program is the right path for our son to prepare for a fully integrated environment when he starts kindergarten and beyond. If you do decide to move forward with this more inclusive program, please do not do it at the expense of the Early Childhood Special Education Program. Thank you.
Monica Favela.
Good evening, school board members. I'm here to speak to the need for an inclusive preschool option. When we looked for a preschool for my son, we encountered rejection from local private schools due to his disabilities. Our only choice was FCPS contained classroom, consisting of 9 other children, all with IEPs. The staff did their best, but my son, like most children, is an imitative learner. What he really needed was the example of walking, talking, neurotypical peers to model social interactions and behaviors. My son was able to attend a play care facility for 1 month during the 2 summers in between his 3 years of FCPS preschool. He picked up more age-appropriate language and behaviors from those combined 8 weeks of exposure to his typical peers than he did from 3 years of FCPS special ed. Fast forward to his kindergarten placement. My son still spends the majority of his day in a special ed classroom. The justification for this placement stems from his segregated preschool experience. Remarkably, Leo is the first child with Down syndrome to attend our local elementary school in 20 years. All the other public school students with DS are being bused to another school with segregated classrooms. By only offering contained classrooms for preschoolers with IEPs, FCPS is siloing many disabled children into special ed for the rest of their academic careers. There's also a systemic denial of services for our preschool population with IEPs. Our son's lack of communication skills were painfully clear. Yet our requests for speech services were continuously ignored or denied. When FCPS finally conducted the evaluation prerequisite to receiving speech services, they found my son with the communication skills of a 21-month-old. He had just turned 5. They finally gave him speech therapy and he responded immediately. While I cannot alter my son's past, you have the ability to reshape the future for our disabled community by implementing a county-wide inclusive preschool option and increasing the availability of related services. Thank you.
Kelsey Lyle.
Hello, I'm a mother of a preschool-age child with a disability. First, I applaud the board's efforts to place equity and diversity at the heart of the district's mission, and I also want to express gratitude for your commitment to inclusion. Also, thank you for being the first district in the nation to hire a neurodiversity specialist. This is who we are in Fairfax County. We embrace and celebrate differences. My fellow advocates and I have 2 requests for the school board. First, we are asking Fairfax County Public Schools to abide by the Individuals with Disabilities Act by providing our early childhood students with a general education setting. Currently, students found eligible for early childhood services are only offered 3 options: a 1-hour resource teacher, a contained class setting, or the preschool autism class. I want to be clear, having a regular preschool option does not take away from any of those other placement options. We are simply requesting that FCPS provide the continuum of service options. Our second request is for FCPS to expand resources for special needs students. We ask that when our children are evaluated and found eligible based on the area of need, that speech, occupational, or physical therapists implement these services and not on our already overworked early childhood educators. Supporting early childhood and preschool programming is the best investment our community can make. Studies have found that children with developmental delays who received early intervention 46% of those children did not require an IEP in kindergarten. And so in closing, we ask FCPS to provide,
Joanna Lee.
Hello, Fairfax County Public School Board. I'm here to share our experience regarding related services for my daughter who is in the preschool class-based service program. When I first heard about related services, I was told that IDEA related services means transportation and such developmental, corrective, and other supportive services are as required to assist a child with disability to benefit from special education, including speech, OT, PT, just to name a few. When I asked the school for speech therapy, I was told that the classroom is a language-rich environment and the teachers will communicate with my daughter all day, so she doesn't need speech therapy. I said, okay, but later thought to myself, then who can get speech therapy if they're attending school? I know for sure there are families who are receiving speech therapy services. So what is the standard of speech delay a student needs to demonstrate to get speech therapy? I was confused. There is a huge discrepancy in the standard of special needs families receiving services. When asking for PT because my daughter was still not walking past age 2, I was told again that the school is a motor-rich environment. We had to fight so hard for this one, and thankfully in the end we did get PT services, but it shouldn't have been that hard. Currently the school is proposing to reduce vision services and drop her vision goals from the IEP, despite doctor reports and parent input regarding her visual challenges and continued need for services. It is truly exhausting, but I can't give up. My daughter doesn't have a voice yet, and I have to be that voice for her, to fight the fight for her. But why does it always have to feel like a fight? I know we are on the same team. Please make related services more easily available to your students with IEP. Thank you for listening and for your time. I really appreciate it.
David Hatcher.
Minutes of meetings under Robert's rules start with old business first and then new business. With this school board, it's almost continuing business marked by profligate spending courtesy of the superintendent. To wit, $450,000 in a sole source contract to Dr. Reed's former colleague, M.T. Fagbai, for an equity-centered strategic seminar. A yearly salary of well over $100,000 to a female colleague who followed Dr. Reed from Washington State, hired here as Chief Experience and Engagement Officer. A tangential payment supported by Carla Bruce, our county's one Fairfax lady, more than $40,000 to the fraudulent and divisive 1619 Project founder who demagogued the entire McLean Community Center audience, me included, but refused to answer any questions. A charade. No laughter, please. Finally, the lawsuit in April to release the findings behind the National Merit Commended Student scandal, payment to an outside law firm of almost $200,000. The superintendent has refused to produce the report or any part of it. Apparently, her in-house lawyer is fighting to keep the report secret. What is the school system trying to hide? All this taxpayer money floating around, our money, while overall school enrollment has not improved since pre-2020, down more than 5%. SAT scores have yet to recover from pre-COVID lockdown. New business, maybe the school board should call for what I did 10 weeks ago here, Dr. Reed's resignation, before she throws a lot more money at her mantra of equal outcomes for every student without exception. That's code for critical race theory, cultural Marxism, and that is no joke.
Michelle Whitecar.
Hi, good evening. I'm here to talk about overcrowding at Glasgow Middle School. My name is Michelle Whitaker, and I have a daughter who is in 9th grade at Justice High School, and I have a son who was in 6th grade at Glasgow until February when we made the difficult decision to pull him out of the school. I was utterly flabbergasted when a parent told me that their child did not want to go to the bathroom at school because of all the fights. They didn't want to get hurt, and they didn't want to get pulled into the trouble. Sadly, I have heard this story from several other parents recently. To his credit, Principal Powell took action. He asked for parent and teacher volunteers to help monitor the bathrooms and the halls. It simply was not enough. Glasgow has too many students, almost 2,000, and it also has 6th grade. Why are Glasgow, Poe, and Holmes Run still 6th through 8th grade schools? They are not consistent with the rest of the with the rest of the schools in our pyramid. If you modify the population of these 3 schools to align with the rest of the pyramid, where they only have 7th and 8th, it would instantly and drastically reduce overall school size. Our incredibly dedicated teachers and our children are placed in a suboptimal environment for learning. Our children cannot concentrate and absorb new information when they don't feel fully safe. Teachers have way too many students in their classes. They are forced to spend too much time disciplining children, and there's not enough time left for teaching. I know that we can do better. In fact, we owe it to our children to do better. Thank you very much for your time and for allowing me to speak. Have a good evening.
Rachel Herndon.
My name is Rachel Herndon. My daughter, who has Down syndrome, is currently enrolled in the preschool class-based program. She does not have any meaningful access to non-disabled peers during her FCPS school day. I'm here tonight again speaking about the need for an inclusive preschool option within FCPS. The benefits of inclusion in the early childhood education setting are foundational. More inclusion in preschool leads to more inclusion and less supports required in kindergarten and beyond. Kids who are included in school expect to be included in their community after school, which leads to better post-secondary options and better access to competitive employment. I want to emphasize that this is not a complaint of the teachers, IAs, or related service providers. However, their quality instruction cannot replace learning from non-disabled peer models. We are not asking FCPS to reinvent the wheel or diminish existing programs. We are asking for FCPS to provide the least restrictive environment of a regular early childhood classroom when appropriate. VDOE has put out guidelines for how to establish inclusive preschools. All of our surrounding divisions have already done it. At our IEP meetings, we are told that inclusion will come in kindergarten. Our kids cannot afford to wait. Or that we should seek a private community inclusive preschool, and this is simply not equitable. I urge you all to advocate for an actionable plan to bring inclusion to the FCPS preschool program. Thank you for your time.
Thoria Hussein. Annie Santi.
Good evening. My name is Annie Santi. Everyone always tries to make my last name a little fancier than it is. I'm here along with many others that are requesting a radical program shift to our special education preschool services. I'm a mother of a spicy 4-year-old little girl with Down syndrome. We all need a little more spice in the world, so I expect her to do great things. Preschool services with FCPS continue to move backwards, and what services are being offered to students with disabilities. In this short time, I'm hoping we can focus directly on the data on the Special Education Performance Report that was completed in 2022. This evening, I'm going to speak directly to the data. So Indicator 6 compares state expectations with current data in Fairfax County Public Schools. I'm also comparing the same data with surrounding counties. Fairfax County Public Schools is providing very minimal resource level services to preschool age students. Resource level services are considered the least restrictive environment to our preschool age students. Compared to surrounding counties and state standards, FCPS is currently providing the most restrictive environment for all its special education preschool age children. We have an incredible high percentage of students accessing the non-categorical classroom-based services. This setting does not allow our children to access typical developing peers. FCPS is excelling in so many ways, but not in the area with our preschool non-categorical classes. We need a full continuum of services. Our preschool age children don't require the same level of services, but these continued trends are not looking good, and it's really similar to the data that was once held in 1967. We need to stop moving backwards and start moving forward to give our children access so they require less services and support as they get older. Thank you so much.
Assam Omesh.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Assam Omesh. On behalf of the Muslim American community, I wanted to extend my most heartfelt gratitude and thanks for the resolution. I'm very proud to see Abrar, my daughter, do the work, but certainly without the support and the leadership of all the board, such resolutions wouldn't be possible. When Tom Gelton wrote his book, A Nation of Nations, trying to reflect on Fairfax County as he told the story of immigration 50 years after the 1965 Immigration Act. He chose few families to try to speak their story and reflect on that, and my family was one of them. I came to this country in '82, spoke no word of English, had to go through high school, and I went to Justice High School, learned the English. I'm ever so grateful to my ESL teachers, grew up to finish up at Georgetown and become a surgeon, and have Abrar, who is my pride and joy, and 3 others who went all through public school, and 2 of them ended up at Harvard and 2 ended up at Yale. I think it's a testament of your leadership, it's a testament of the system, but it's things like these events that recognizes who we are as one Fairfax and who brings about the best in all of us is the kind of things that will move our county forward. So thank you for your leadership, and may God bless our county and bless everybody who's been part of it. Thank you.
Madam Chair, that was our final speaker. Please play the video now.
Fairfax County Public School Board, Dr. Reed, staff, students, and parents. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be unto you. My name is Shelley McKinney, founder of Mom Network and a mother of a graduate of FCPS. Unfortunately, I can't join you all this evening, but I didn't want this opportunity to pass without recognizing your efforts. On behalf of the United Muslim Network, we would like to take this opportunity to thank all those who worked diligently over the last 6 years on the calendar, which better reflects our community's richness and diversity. A few weeks ago, Muslim students and staff didn't have to decide between either their faith, work, or school. As Muslims and community organizers, I cannot overstate how much this decision means to us. For the first time, every student and staff member who observes Eid al-Fitr had the opportunity to fully celebrate this important holiday with their families and loved ones. Students didn't have to worry about infringing on their perfect attendance or missing necessary tests or assignments. The decision to include Eid al-Fitr as a recognized holiday in FCPS calendar sends a powerful message of inclusivity and acceptance and shows you value and respect the diversity of the communities you serve. We would also like to thank FCPS administrators and teachers who went above and beyond to accommodate our students during Ramadan. As a result, we've heard from many children and parents in the community, and for the first time, many have felt seen. This has positively impacted countless families and will help foster a more inclusive and welcoming community. We look forward to working with you all to continue what we've started.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for coming to speak to us.